Abraha is also spelled Abraha. He is a character from the 6th century. He was an Ethiopian Christian viceroy of Sabah, Yemen in southern Arabia. He was a zealous Christian, and he is said to have built a great church at Sana'a al-Qalais, from the Greek ecclesia, to compete with the Kaaba at Mecca. Is this the Kaaba of Yemen, or the Kaaba as we know it today in Arabia? He repaired the principal irrigation dam at the Sabaean capital of Marib. However, Abraha is mostly famous for the military expedition that he supposedly led north against the city of Mecca in the same year as Muhammad's birth. Now understand, the Kaaba of Yemen, right, the Mecca of Yemen, would be about 100 kilometers from Sana'a. So he led this expedition supposedly at the year of Muhammad's birth of about 570. Now, though this expedition was supported by elephants, and the number is disputed, the expedition failed. Muslims believe that Mecca escaped capture only through a miracle. Abraha's rule ended in 575 when the Persian Sasanians invaded the region and brought the Sabaean kingdom to an end. However, outside of later Islamic tradition, there is no mention of Abraha's expedition, including from Abraha's own inscriptions. African war elephants had not been used in the region for over 600 years, according to Daniel Beck. It is also difficult to explain how Abraha would have gotten a hold on the African elephants in Arabia. Furthermore, Quran 105, at least according to some, appears to be appealing to traditions from the Maccabees and not referencing any expedition on Abraha's part. Let's look at what Islamic scholars have to say. Al-Badawi tells us, he went forth with his army, having with him a strong elephant named Mahmud and another she-elephant. So Abraha had 2 elephants. The number of elephants, according to the Muslim scholars, is, let's say, disputed. They can't quite seem to figure it out. Now, when he prepared to enter Mecca and he mobilized his army, the elephant arrived, and whenever they pointed it towards Mecca, it knelt down and remained there. Now, did you notice that the elephant is called Mahmud? Mahmud, of course, is a short version of Muhammad, like Bob for Robert, Bill for William, Mahmud for Muhammad. So the elephant, the white elephant, by the way, it's a white elephant, probably with armpits as white as Muhammad's armpits and a thigh as white as Muhammad's thigh. But this white elephant called Mahmud wouldn't walk towards Mecca. When they pointed Muhammad towards Yemen or any other direction, the elephant would trot away. So Allah Almighty sent birds. Now, Abraha's invasion and Muhammad's birth are often dated to a year equivalent to 570. But commentators, Islamic commentators, have no unanimity on the matter. They cannot come to an agreement. Qurtubi is representative in presenting sources that equate the year of the elephant with that of Muhammad's birth, which is fantastic. But he also, right, has sources that place Abraha's attack 23 years earlier, or 40 years earlier. So not 570, but as early as 530. That's 40 years before Muhammad was supposed to have been born. So they can't get their story straight. Western scholars like Noldecker, Lamens, and Bacher as well also point out major inconsistencies within the early Arabic sources and the contradictions between them. Now, let's continue. According to some of the histories, when the people of Mecca had fled the city, seeing the approach of Abraha's army, the lead elephant named Mahmud stopped and kneeled down, refusing to go further. The rest of the elephants would not go without the leader, so the whole formation came to a halt. So how many elephants? I thought it was just him and a female elephant. Apparently not. Muhammad was beaten and cajoled, but would not take one more step towards Mecca. Waqidi gives a tradition that there were 13 elephants with the army, besides this famous one called Muhammad. And the latter was the only one that escaped death from the shower of stones, of course, because it's named Muhammad. This, of course, goes against tradition on the issue. Right? The subject discusses the death of the entire army, but, okay, well, Waqidi adds that Abraha sent to Abyssinia, that's Ethiopia today, for the famous elephant Mahmud expressly to join this expedition. Okay? Now, the lead elephant is a white elephant known as Mahmud, and is said to have stopped at the boundary around Mecca and refused to enter. Archaeological discoveries in South Arabia suggest that the year of the elephant may have been 569 or 568, as the Sasanian Empire overthrew the Aksumite-affiliated rulers in Yemen in 570. Now, according to Muhammad Assad, the surah does not describe birds literally carrying small rocks. Referencing al-Zamakhshari and Fakhr al-Din al-Radi, he states that the words used, namely the stones of Sijil, denote a writing. This is something written, something decreed by God. In this case, Allah. something that has been decreed by Allah. He further explains that this decree by Allah was a very sudden epidemic outbreak. Okay, yeah, so now it was a disease outbreak, which according to Ibn Ishaq caused fever, called haspa, and smallpox, judari. Okay, fever and smallpox. That's great. This, Assad concludes, points to the fact that the stone-hard blows of chastisement preordained were a sudden, virulent epidemic, due to the fact that the word for fever, haspa, primarily means pelting or smiting with stones, as according to the famous Arabic dictionary Al-Qamus by Firuzabadi. This is the Al-Qamus Al-Muhit. This is the basis for Lane's lexicon, and of course it contains the word deen, which tells us that deen, which Islam called itself, is not a religion, but is a political system. The word ta'ir can denote any flying creature, whether bird or insect. So, okay, not a bird, not an insect. Is that a bird? Is that a plane? No, it's Superman. So understand there is no consistency at all within the Islamic sources. In a Shia hadith in Al-Kafi volume 1, Imam Ali was born in the 30th year of the elephant and died in age 40, that's after Hijrah. Now some scholars have placed the year of the elephant 1 to 2 decades earlier than 570, now looking at 560, 550, with a tradition attached to Ibn Shahab al-Sukhri in the words of Abdul Razak al-San'ani, placing it before the birth of Muhammad's father. That would be very early. That's probably around, what, 530 again? Now we're back way in history prior to the birth of Muhammad. Let's look at this interesting episode just here in War Elephants. I'll leave this here. You make up your own mind about it. Just as Muslims ascribed religious sensitivity to the elephants that refused to attack Mecca, so the Christians ascribed piety to some elephants visiting Byzantium or Constantinople. John of Ephesus wrote that the elephants raised their trunks and signed the cross whenever they passed the Christian church, to thank God for helping them in battle. One must wonder if the Mahouts taught the elephants some Christian sensibilities for the visit to Byzantium. So I believe this story comes well after the story of what happened in Mecca, but possibly it's just an embellishment and a legend, so not factual history at all. The word haram, al-Masjid al-Haram. So haram among the Bedouin, a sacred area around the shrine, a place where holy power manifests itself. It is the sacred territory of Mecca. Haram. Of course you have haram and halal. Haram, forbidden, right? The forbidden ground. Al-Haramain, two holy places, usually Mecca and Medina, but occasionally Jerusalem and Hebron. Okay, so Al-Haramain are the two holy places, Mecca and Medina, but they can also be Jerusalem and Hebron. Okay, that's fascinating. In Surah 4:125, in which Abraham is described as Hanif, it is stated in addition that Allah took him as a friend, Khalil. Right? Hence the later designation of Hebron, the alleged burial place of Abraham, as Al-Khalil. Now, we have this here. It was not until the Hijrah that Muhammad, on the occasion of his controversy with the Jews, that's when the Jews told him to get lost because he was not a prophet in the line of Abraham, only then did he pronounce the Old Testament patriarch a Hanif and the first Muslim. So after Muhammad gets rejected, after Muhammad is told that he is not accepted as a prophet in the line of Abraham, then he makes the assertion, without evidence, that Abraham is a Hanif. Right? Hanif can be translated as upright. Allah is upright as well. And the first Muslim, and maintained that he, together with Ishmael, the ancestor of the Arabs, built the Kaaba. Now, of course, this is one of the major issues that is going to sink Islam. They cannot provide evidence for this. Abraham and the Kaaba, that story makes no sense. So, Abraham also introduced the ceremonies of the pilgrimage. Abraham, always according to Snook Hergronier, became only at this juncture the most important forerunner of the Arabian prophet. So this is when this story suddenly pops out. Muhammad makes up this story on the fly. So Islam is now able to claim to be the religion of pure monotheism, promulgated by Abraham, and thus it has priority over both Judaism, which is founded by Moses, and Christianity, founded by Jesus. While it demoted Jesus, demoted Moses. Now Abraham becomes the patriarch, and they are the original religion. Of course, Islam rejects, as we've discussed, rejects Christianity, rejects Judaism. It claims that they are following the religion of Abraham before he turned to the worship of Yahweh. And of course, ask any Muslim if they will say the Shahada in the name of Yahweh, if they'll say the Bismillah in the name of Yahweh, if they will pray in the name of Yahweh, if they will bless their food in the name of Yahweh, if they will do any ceremony in the name of Yahweh. They do not worship Yahweh. They will not. absolutely will not do it. Before Abraham turned to Yahweh, he was a Sabaean. He worshipped stones. He worshipped the pagan gods. According to the Jewish chronicles, he was a Sabaean. Right? That's what I've covered this, or will cover this. No, I have covered this in the past. That he was a Sabaean. That's according to the Jews. So that meant that he was a moon worshipper. That meant that he was following the religion of Sabaeanism, which is the religion of Babylon. Now, Haramain is the dual form of Haram, meaning the two sanctuaries, and it is the traditional Islamic appellation of the two holiest cities of Islam, Mecca and Medina, but it also refers to, Jerusalem and Hebron. And Haram can also mean pyramid. So this takes us back to the Egyptian religion, oddly enough. Now, the Sufis, who are the highest echelon of scholar within Islam, they claim that they have maintained and have inherited the secrets of the secret schools of Egypt, the secret religions of Egypt, that they've inherited that knowledge, that they are the keepers of that knowledge. So preeminently, this refers to the pyramid of Cheops and Khephren. Right. These numbers always refer to the Encyclopedia of Islam. This is volume 3, page 173A. So columns A and B, so A on the left-hand side. Let's have a quick look at some Arabic grammar. The prefix mu. Mu, yeah, well, Islam. So Sharia enables Muslims to bring their lives in line with the will of Allah. Will as opposed to logos, right? The will, the satanic will, as opposed to the logos, the principle of reason. A Muslim, don't forget, see the prefix Muslim. A Muslim is Sharia compliant. The word Muslim contains in its Arabic meaning its definition. The word Muslim in Arabic has two parts, the mu prefix and the triliteral root of the word Islam. That root word Islam is a verbal noun that means submission. Now when mu is prefixed to such a root in Arabic, the resulting noun means a person who does the thing that the root word denotes. So if you're a carpenter, right, you would do mu carpenter, right, one who does carpentry. Muslim is one who does silm, right. We've covered that meaning silm before, check through the episodes, but silm originally referred to, well, the worship of idols, upright statues, what is discussed in the Bible as forbidden. Now, Muslim, one who submits to what? Allah's will, which is Sharia, Islamic law. A Muslim is by definition Sharia adherent, because that's what the word means. If someone claims to be a Muslim or converts to Islam or was born into Islam but does not apostatize or separate from it, then it is reasonable to conclude such a person is Sharia compliant, despite any protestations from them. At a minimum, it is tacitly implied, unless and until demonstrated otherwise, and even then it is questionable. Now the converse must also be true. One who does not submit to Sharia, one who does not adhere to Sharia, does not meet the linguistic definition of Muslim. Now let me pause a moment and let's have a quick look again at this term slim. Once again, here is a silim, right? These are standing stones, upright. So Hanif, upright, right? Silim, graven idols and pillar statues from the Neolithic period. A silim is a graven idol, right? The Hanif, Abraham is said to be Hanif, Hanifan, Allah is Hanifan, upright. Well, upright statues, upright graven idols. See, graven idols, engraved. Here you go, graven idols, upright statues, pillar statues. So now we know what silim is. These are 9,000-year-old Neolithic temples to graven idols. Without going into excessive detail, but this is coming up later in the presentation, notice the word silim. It's the root of Islam, and it means graven idol. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. That's in the 10 Commandments. Now we are often told by Muslims that the Arabic silim is salam or Islam, right? Submission. Now it is a common Semitic word. It is found in Strong's H6754 and 5. It means image, it means heathen gods. It's discussed in 2 Kings 11:18, Amos 5:26, and Daniel 2:31. Now, look at this definition. Silim, the earliest known form, is in the name of Shalim, the ancient god of dusk of Ugarit, Canaan, Syria. It is Venus, the evening star, the offspring of El Watatirat, pagan gods. So, the earliest form of Silim is the worship of pagan gods. Muslim, one who worships the pagan gods. One who worships the upright standing idols, the heathen gods. Bear that in mind. There's an interesting thing as to why Muslims don't tell you that the use of Muslim within the Semitic first and originally referred to the worship of pagan gods. Sharia is defined and understood by the Islamic scholars to be an all-encompassing legal, military, doctrinal system. So it's a political system that includes legal issues, military, doctrine, you name it. It's a complete military system, a complete legal system, a complete political system of government. So it's a system of government. It's a political religion. It's a form of government. This would mean it's on par with things like Nazism, communism, fascism. It's a form of government that features some religious beliefs. Now, remember, it's a deen. Deen is a political system according to its own definition. See my videos on deen. There's a short one, a few minutes long, on my channel. It is binding for Muslims as the word Muslim dictates. So Sharia includes huge amounts of innocuous obligations to believe in the oneness of Allah, to pray 5 times per day, to avoid eating pork, etc. Also, jihad as various forms of warfare to spread Islam is also a core obligation. All who are Muslim by birth or conversion are obligated to actively support the establishment of a universal governmental system. The caliphate or the imamate based on Sharia and the replacement by means of jihad any political system not governed by Sharia. Just like socialists, Marxist socialists, revolutionary Marxist socialists, for instance, or any revolutionary socialists, are required through subversion, through revolution, through warfare, through violence, to overthrow and replace any other government with Marxism for the good of the people, with socialism for the good of the people. So in this sense, they're identical. They are political religions. They're political military religions. So socialism, Sharia, Islam, same thing in this sense, exactly the same. This commandment to Islamic supremacism is the most problematic for non-Muslims and is responsible for much of the debate about what exactly being a Muslim means. Well, you follow the Islam. But if we realize that the answer lies in the etymology of the Arabic word Muslim itself, then it will be understood that unless and until that identity as one who submits is actively rejected by that individual in question, that person must be accorded full credit for living a Sharia-adherent life.